Hello, and thank you for attending this session. My name is Benett Axtell, and I will be presenting our paper on what we can learn from the speech interactions seen in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Voice user interfaces, or VUIs, such as Alexa and Google Home, are increasingly ubiquitous in everyday use. But research has shown that those interactions do not match what users expect or desire from a speech interaction. Generally, we need better understandings of what we as users want from these interactions, and for those understandings to be incorporated into VUIs. Well, science fiction has been depicting people talking to computers for decades, and Star Trek in particular has given us a consistent picture of futuristic ideal VUI use. To explore this, we ask, what do the VUI interactions of Star Trek: The Next Generation reveal about how these systems should work? Star Trek is obviously fictional, as are the technologies being used by the characters. But those technologies have been influencing our modern design since the show's creation in the 60s, and we continue to see its influence today. Flip phones were heavily inspired by communicators, and tablets by pads, both seen here. By looking at speech interactions in Star Trek, we see how users have imagined a fully realized VUI system, separate from the technical limitations or assumptions of modern use, and reveal how modern speech interactions could better reflect the broad potential of this modality. Based on every episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, we manually coded all speech interactions with the computer for the type and domain of the interaction, and for the term within each interaction, who said what, when. What did we find? At a very high level, commands are by far the most common interaction, wake words are only used half the time, and the computer responds with a nonverbal action, like making a cup of tea, as often as it does a spoken response. But let's talk about what this means for speech interactions today. Most interactions were just one back and forth, and wake words aren't always needed to start an interaction because the physical context or other cue implies it, such as walking onto a turbolift or elevator and stating, "Deck 4." Longer interactions use questions more often and rarely reuse wake words. The user's choice of interaction type can hint that the exchange will go on longer, telling the computer to keep listening. Users phrase interactions to indicate both the domain of use and the appropriate response. Statements are mostly used in IoT settings and largely get actions in response, while questions are used for informational tasks and expect spoken answers. Someone walking into a room and saying lights, with no further context, is likely an implied command to turn on the lights in the current room. A question, though, would indicate that an action may not be desired, such as, "Is my garage door open?" These interactions are rarely just speech. Multimodality is key to the usability of this VUI system. A user's physical location and information on other devices or screens are leveraged by the computer and by users. A speech-only interaction is not necessarily ideal. Computers use situational awareness, both to understand user queries, such as looking at what is currently on the screen as well as what is said, and to give better responses, such as displaying a long list on a screen instead of speaking it. Finally, it is not a conversation, despite the push for true human-like conversation from modern tools. Short, targeted commands that get an action response from the computer are the norm. Smart assistant-type VUIs should not be designed as a conversation. This is not to say that the conversation should never be the goal of VUIs, but the place for that is not in the mundane daily tasks of running a starship, or of making lunch. These recommendations are implementable today, with no sci-fi required. As we've seen on the Enterprise, speech is used mostly for short, targeted interactions with the machine, but occasionally for problem-solving, brainstorming, etc. This work reveals how to improve smart voice assistant design to match the practical design seen here, but also that speech interaction has much broader potential than the human-like assistant current VUIs strive for. That has its use, but so does brainstorming, storytelling, and who knows what else. So, I'll leave you with a question. What else can we do with speech as a modality when we look beyond the here and now? We've made our dataset fully available online, so you can help us find out. Make it so.